Welcome back, YouTube. It is Saiko, and today we are here with another video. And in today's video, we are going to be specifically discussing the Detroit Pistons as a part of my 30 teams in 30 days video series. But before we even get into the video, please consider hitting the like button and also hitting subscribe because it helps support the channel. I'm pretty sure that Cade Cunningham would love to hit the like button and hit subscribe if he saw this video. Nevertheless, let's get on to talking about the Detroit Pistons. This offseason, the Pistons actually made a few changes to their roster by letting Dennis Smith Jr. walk to the Portland Trailblazers and having Wayne Ellington sign with the Lakers. They also ended up trading away Sekou Doumbouya and Jahlil Okafor for DeAndre Jordan, where, they just let him go to the Lakers, so I guess that's kind of a trade, not really, I don't really know. And they also traded away Mason Plumlee for some dude whose name I can't even pronounce. I'm pretty sure I'm going to put a subtitle here somewhere throughout the video so you guys can see what his name is, because I don't know what his name is. I don't even know how to pronounce it. But they were also able to sign players in like Hamidou Diallo, Trey Lyles, Corey Joseph, Rodney Magruder. They got Kelly Olynyk, which was like probably their biggest signing of free agency, I guess. Oh, and they also had like Frank Jackson, which, if you care about that at all, he got some drip though. I can't even lie. On top of their signings, they also drafted the #1 pick in Cade Cunningham from Oklahoma State, aka Motorcade, which is actually the definition of vehicles in an assembly line or something like that. Something around those lines. I'm not really sure. It's actually the escorting of a vehicle. The more you know. Looking at this team, I feel like if I were to try and predict the starting lineup, I think it would be something around the lines of Cade Cunningham at the 1, Hamidou Diallo at the 2, Saddiq Bey at the 3, you have Jeremy Grant at the 4, and then you're going to have Kelly Olynyk running the 5 as a stretch 5, I guess. With Cade being the #1 pick, I doubt that he would actually ride the bench to begin the season. I'm pretty sure they're going to put him in a starting spot immediately. His player comparison was literally Luka Doncic and Chris Middleton, and honestly, a mixture of those two, if you have a guy like that, I definitely want him to start, especially because he's the #1 pick. And also, from the way that he performed in Summer League, he can do a little bit of everything. I don't know if I would exactly call him Luka Doncic just yet, but with the way that he performed, I really like the kid. As for the other guards on the depth chart, I feel like when you look at Corey Joseph and Killian Hayes, Corey Joseph is more of a backup guard compared to Cade Cunningham, or at least Killian Hayes, and I don't really know where Killian Hayes fits into the mix of this. He could actually play the 1 and you could move Cade over to the 2, but who really knows what they're going to do. I think since Cade is a much bigger guard, I feel like you could slide him over to the 2, move Hamidou Diallo to the bench to improve your depth, and also just have Killian Hayes and Cade Cunningham in your starting backcourt. Looking at Killian Hayes, honestly, he was not great last year at all by any means. And I feel like if you slide Killian Hayes in as the starting 1 guard, he could probably continue the success he had last year, even though it was really late in the season and he was still a little bit inconsistent, but nonetheless, he still had some sort of success. Like, the kid really showed flashes last year of him being able to at least score 21 points in a game. Yeah, he didn't shoot it great. He was a really poor, efficient shooter. But I'm hoping that with an entire offseason, especially because, he played in Detroit, so they weren't going to be in the playoffs anyways. Hopefully, he actually took this time this summer to develop his game and be able to probably be either a good backup or play alongside Cade. The Pistons also have Josh Jackson, who actually has bounced back from the beginning of his career. I know his career is really young, but like from going from the Suns, where he was a big troublemaker, to going to Memphis and actually playing pretty solidly with the small sample size that we got, going to Detroit, he averaged about like 12 points a game, I think, something like that. It was 13, but you guys get what I'm saying. He pretty much bounced back, especially because of the way that he was pretty much looked at as a guy that was probably going to be out of the league within the next few years, or at least he was going to be out of the league at this point. And going to Memphis, going to Detroit and playing solid minutes, he's actually bounced back. I don't think he's going to be the Jimmy Butler type player that we expect him to be, but he could be in the mold of a guy like maybe Jay Crowder or even Andre Iguodala. So as long as he reaches that, he'll never reach a ceiling of being Jimmy Butler. But if his floor is Andre Iguodala or Jay Crowder, you know what? I'd take that as a solid backup guy. Saddiq Bey is actually one of my favorite players on this team. He's literally similar to Josh Jackson in a way, but I think that he would get the starting role over him just because I feel like he has way more potential, and he's kind of going to be a guy that I feel like could fit the mold of a Robert Covington with more offense, or at least like he's a guy where like he's really good defensively and hopefully the offense catches up, because if it does, he could turn into Jaylen Brown, Kawhi Leonard, who really knows. I love Saddiq Bey. He's great. They also had Isaiah Stewart, which, I mean, he started playing towards the end of the year, and once he got into the starting lineup, boy, he changed my fantasy, and plus that man was getting, like, blocks, and I mean blocks a game. Shout out to Beef Stew, man. That dude's got a lot of potential. I really like him. If he started over Kelly Olynyk, I would not complain at all. That's how much I really like Isaiah Stewart. He had a really good end of the year last year. I hope he keeps it up when the season starts this year. Isaiah Stewart is probably also another guy that I really like on this team. I really like a lot of people on this team, I noticed. Also, I think if the Pistons do end up starting Cade and Killian in the backcourt and having Corey Joseph there, I think that Saban Lee is also another guy who is kind of in that logjam at the point guard position. Maybe he slides over to the 2. Maybe they have Corey Joe slide over to the 2. I don't really know. But I feel like he would be a nice guy, young guy to develop if Corey Joe doesn't really work out, or if they just feel like they are really just going to tank again this season, which they might honestly do. Now that I've talked about all of the young guys, or at least a lot of the young guys that are on the team, I want to get to the main piece, or at least like Detroit's best player, and that is Jeremy Grant. Jeremy Grant is probably one of my favorite players in the league, just because ever since I saw him in OKC when he played alongside Russ, coming off the bench for Carmelo Anthony, damn, who remembers that? But I just really love Jeremy Grant. Like, honestly, coming from OKC, where he was on the bench behind Carmelo Anthony, just as an energy guy who learned to shoot the 3, and then going to the starting lineup with Paul George, he was just such a solid fit on that team. I love him. He's really like one of those plug-and-play guys, and then he went over to Denver, and then he was able to play make a little more, and now that he's in Detroit, he's actually really developed his game, and he really showed that he can be a number 1 option on a team. However, I don't think that he could be a number 1 option on a contending team. I love you, Jeremy Grant, but as great as I think you are, I feel like you would be more of a second fiddle, third fiddle type of guy, which, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I just love you, man. Like, Jeremy Grant, seeing his development has just been great. Even though Detroit has a lot of promising players, I don't really know what the direction of this team is, because if you think about it, like I said earlier, they have a lot of people in the guard position. Whether they're going to slide Cade over to the 2 and have Killian start, they also still have Corey Joe, they also still have Hamid Diallo, they've got Josh Jackson, who you can consider a 2-3, and they have Saban Lee. Like, I just don't know what this team is really going to do. And they also have Kelly Olynyk, which I feel like he's only there to kind of boost his value and later get traded to a different team or something like that, like a team that's going to contend. And I mean, what are they going to do with Jeremy Grant? Is Jeremy Grant going to stay there, or is he going to be traded? Because last year there were rumors about him being traded to the Celtics, and I mean, that didn't happen. Maybe it'll happen this year. Who really knows? They sold Andre Drummond 2 years ago. They sold Blake last year. They sold Derrick Rose last year. I honestly feel like the next piece to go is probably Jeremy Grant, because if Detroit doesn't really figure anything out, they're just going to have a hell of a ton of guards. Like, they could literally just run an all guard lineup. Like, I feel like Jeremy Grant and Kelly Olynyk are just going to be there to really boost their value and get traded to a contender later on in the, like, by the trade deadline. So I'm not really sure what the Detroit Pistons are really going to do. I'm not really sure what they're planning. I know that they were a team that really did not want to tank, but it kind of looks like at this point they're kind of tanking. I don't think they're going to be competitive. I don't even think they're going to be a play-in tournament team. They might be at the bottom of the conference again, for all we know. Also, do you guys think that Cade Cunningham and Killian Hayes are going to be the starters in the backcourt, or do you think that one is going to be benched? Probably Killian Hayes in this situation. Do you think that Killian Hayes is going to be benched and Cade Cunningham's going to start? I just have so many questions about this team, honestly. Like, I don't really know what they're really planning on doing. Like, I don't know what direction they're heading in, because they have so many guards. Jeremy Grant is just kind of there. Kelly Olynyk is just kind of there. Who really knows? If you guys agree with me, leave a comment down below. And obviously, if you disagree, or if you feel like you know what direction the Pistons are heading into, leave that down below as well. Let me know what you guys think of the motorcade Pistons, because I know that Cade Cunningham said he wants the bad boys back, and hopefully he can kind of be the start of it. But it's just, what do they do with a lot of the logjam that they have at the guard position? What do they do? What do they just do in general? This team is really confusing, man. Anyways, my name is Saiko. Please leave your comments down below. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please rate, comment, and subscribe, like I said in the beginning of the video. I will catch you guys tomorrow for the 30 for 30 Orlando Magic.